25 credit repair secrets no one is going to tell you. That is what we are covering in this series. This is a 25-part series. We are on part 5 where we're talking about pay for deletions. I'm going to clear up all the rumors, exactly how they work and how they can benefit you by just simply getting the debt behind you. Let's get into it. If you are new here, my name is Credit Coach Nicole Scott. All I ask is that you subscribe, turn those bell notifications on, and of course, give me a huge thumbs up. Leave me a comment below. Now, I want to clear up the pay for deletion saga because there's a lot of misunderstanding out there on how this actually works. Now, the pay for deletion concept is meant for third-party collection companies that normally wouldn't be on your credit report, but for whatever reason, you had some debt, now it's being collected on. Now, there's two different types of collection agencies. There's agencies that are collecting on behalf of their client and they do not own the debt. They're simply providing a service. Then there are junk debt buyers which have purchased the debt. A lot of times you'll see that from Capital One or whomever they're collecting on behalf of. They have actually purchased the debt. A lot of times the service providers that are collecting on behalf of their client are usually medical, utilities, cell phones, things of that nature. But no matter who it is, you can contact them and say, look, I don't agree with this alleged debt. However, it's affecting my credit and I want to make a settlement offer. And that settlement is usually going to be anywhere between 20 to even 50% of the debt. What's going to happen is you're going to go back and forth. You're going to make negotiations. Hopefully you can negotiate yourself a really good deal, pay 20 cents on the dollar for your pay for deletion, and then they will update the balance to zero. And in most cases with third-party collection agencies, it's not a guarantee, but there's more. So just wait, it gets better. They will update it to zero. That's what we need. We want them to update it to zero. Ultimately, we want them to delete the account as if it never existed, because technically, if we no longer owe the debt, they weren't, reporting to our credit in the first place. So that account should then be deleted. Now, if you contact a collection agency and say, hey, I want to do a pay for deletion, they might say, okay, well, you can pay it, but we can't guarantee it, blah, 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 because they're not supposed to make those type of agreements with anyone. So what they say is, once the account is paid, then we will remove it as if it never existed. So essentially it's a pay for deletion. You're paying the account for it to be removed. Now, this only works with third-party collection agencies. And to be honest, they are not at liberty to have to delete anything. So not all of them are going to do it. However, if the debt does belong to you and, you just want to get it behind you, which completely understandable. Don't be afraid to pay your old debt. It's not the end of the world. And I know everybody else out there is saying, hey, don't pay your collections. Don't do it. Don't do it. They're the same ones begging for business on TikTok and all these other social media platforms. So why the fuck are you listening to them? They're over there begging for galaxies and shit. And I'm over here telling you, look, if you feel like that debt is yours and you want to take responsibility for it, and pony up and pay your debt, that is fine. I'm telling you, do it. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, sometimes we have to pay some of the debt. You can't just run away from everything and expect nothing to catch back up with you. It just doesn't work like that. All right. We're living in a 2025 era. So get your ish together and quit listening to all these jokers on freaking TikTok. Now, the bottom line here is pay for deletions work for third-party collections. They do not work and they're not really applicable to, charge off. Now, there's good and bad with everything, right? So with a charge off, I'm not saying don't pay because, if you have a charge off, it's continually reporting as delinquent and derogatory. So I encourage people to pay off their charge offs. Same concept, settlement. It's debt settlement, right? So say you owe $500 or they're alleging that you owe $500. You could potentially call the creditor, whomever that is, and say, look, I, found you on my credit report. I don't agree with this amount, but I want to settle it to get it behind me because, it's affecting my credit and I want to settle for $200. So what you can do is potentially pay them $200 for this alleged amount, right, as a settlement. They will then update the account to a zero balance. And once the account has a zero balance, it's no longer going to be reporting as a derogatory account. So you can continue to now move up. You're not going to have all these holes bleeding out points because you've got this, derogatory charge off reporting every single month that's holding you back. Now, once this thing is updated to zero, and, we're going to talk about this later on in this series, so I'm not going to go too much into it, but, settlement is okay. Debt settlement is perfectly fine because what that is going to allow you to do is not have a derogatory account affecting you. It is going to help in the long run. And then what you can do is you can still dispute the data with the credit bureaus and potentially get that entire account deleted from your credit report. I don't worry about getting the whole give me proof, because guess what? No collection agency out there is going to write in writing, hey, once you pay this, we're going to delete it from your credit report. It just doesn't work like that because they don't want to be in trouble. They can't necessarily, do those type of things and make, negotiations like that. It's just not good business for them. They have to use other words and other ways of doing it. So you can just say, look, once I pay this, are you going to remove it from my credit? And, whether they delete it or not, all that you're really concerned with is having the receipt, having the statement from them saying the account has been settled, the account is paid in full, whatever the case may be, right? Once you get that statement from them, then you can send that in to the credit bureaus and ask them to remove it. Say, look, this account should have never been on my credit. You can see here the creditor or the collection agency is now saying that my account is zero. I'm demanding you remove this inaccurate information from my credit report, and continue to dispute it. If for some reason the credit bureaus don't want to help you or continue to ignore your request, you're going to head on over to step 1 in this 25-part series, where you're just going to contact the CFPB and also the BBB, and you can make a complaint against the credit bureaus and also against the creditor or the collection agency if need be, right? If the collection agency made a promise to you and they fell short on that promise, then of course that's, something that you can make a complaint against them about. So either way, I feel like you're in the clear. A lot of people might tell you, oh, get everything in writing. Well, here's the thing about debt settlement that a lot of people aren't going to be forthcoming with. When you are doing debt settlement, you need to be prepared to pay right then and there. And the way that these companies think is if they have you on the phone and you guys are doing negotiations, if you hang up and say, well, let me think about it, I want this in writing, or whatever the case may be, chances are if you hang up that phone and try to call back, the deal is off the table. So when you are in negotiations, you need to be prepared to pay right then and there. If you're uncertain about something and you're like, look, I have no problem paying this agreed amount that we've talked about, is there any way that you can just email me something quickly? A lot of times they can't. So what I like to do is just go through with it and get then the statement. They're not going to be able to give you a statement until your account clears. So meaning you made your payment and they want the money to clear from your bank account. Then they will provide you with a paid statement or a letter saying that you're paid in full, blah, 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 blah. But the truth of the matter is they're not necessarily going to be able to send you something in writing right then and there. And I know a lot of people are super hyper focused on that, but the best thing that you can do when it comes to pay for deletions or debt settlement in general is negotiate with a manager. Okay, get a supervisor or a manager on the phone, explain to them, hey, I don't agree with this debt, but I'm willing to settle it for, 20 cents on the dollar. Or if the amount is $1,000, hey, I'm willing to settle it for, $200. I always start super low, like on the whole 20% side of things. And mind you, sometimes it doesn't always get accepted, but I don't let that stop me, because we go back and forth and we negotiate. And sometimes in the beginning stages of things, you kind of testing their waters, and you might need to call in and kind of see where they're at, speak to a manager and say, look, I'm willing to settle this thing for, 20%, what I owe you, but you won't accept it. And, if you are willing to accept it, I'm willing to pay, and see if the manager is willing to make an acceptment, or I should say settlement, willing to accept your settlement for, what you can afford to pay, and let them know, look, we are in a recession. Okay. You're lucky I'm paying you anything, and don't just get this whole thing just deleted from my credit report by claiming, that the account doesn't belong to me, but I'm willing to settle this with you. Here, take my money, basically, right? But make the settlement and it's all going to work out. If for some reason it doesn't, you've got proof of payment. They're going to send you a statement. They have to. After the fact, and once your payment has posted, they have to send you a billing statement saying that the account is now at a zero balance. So use that to get it deleted. Sometimes you do have to do a little back and forth with these people, but the bottom line is you need to be prepared to pay right then and there. Because if you go through all the negotiations and they finally accept something and you say, well, I'll call you back next week when I get paid, the deal is off the table. So you need to be prepared to pay these people when you are going through the negotiations, and don't think that they're going to want to settle for some super low amount and then you tell them you got to pay next week. No, it doesn't work like that. Now, sometimes debt can be a little bit more than what we can afford to pay all in one payment, and you can even ask about payment plans. Now, I recommend this more along the lines to original creditors, someone that you want to get back into good standing with, like Chase or Navy Federal, and you can make payments to them, and as long as you don't miss a payment and you don't default on your payment agreement, you can then settle the account. They'll update it to a zero balance. A lot of times they'll put something in the notes like, hey, this was paid, but settled for less than the full balance. That's fine. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you pay the whole thing or if you make a settlement. That's why I always recommend people doing a debt settlement, because you're going to pay a fraction of it and they're still going to update it to zero. And whether you pay half or a fraction, it doesn't matter, as long as the account is updated to a zero balance due, and that is no longer affecting you. It's no longer a derogatory account. You can continue to dispute the account with the credit bureaus to get it off your profile, or to have them updated to paid. Because a lot of times when it comes to credit repair, you can take that account and say, okay, I want to keep the account because it's a good account, but I just want them to update the data, right? That's all about the instructions that you give the credit bureau. If you're telling them to delete something, they're probably going to delete it. But if you ask them to update the status to paid or whatever the case may be, then they would update it. So it's all about your instructions to them. Now, if it is a super negative account with late payments and all that stuff, which usually is the case with charge-offs and collections, even though a collection should not have a late payment, okay, that's a violation because you were never late with them. Needless to say, you just really have to be consistent and really watch for the small fine print and verifying all of that data, because there's only one accurate answer at the end of the day. And I don't care if the balance is $1 off, that's inaccurate, all right? And by law, they have to report 100% accurate information, even if it's off by 1 day, $1, or 1 cent. It doesn't matter. I hope that was helpful. My name is Credit Coach Nicole Scott. Make sure that you have subscribed. Give me a huge thumbs up. And if you want this entire guide that I put together, it is 25 different ways that you can get your credit cleaned up. And this is information that people don't necessarily want to share with you. They want you to pay them and then they'll give you the information. Not over here. There's no gatekeeping over here. You're either going to spend your time to watch these videos in this 25-part series, or you can spend a little bit of nothing and purchase the guide here. But I also encourage you to join the credit community. Okay, if you are not a part of the credit community, you will get access to all of our previously recorded content for the same price. We're not going to try to upsell you once you get in there and say, hey, you have to pay $1,000 to watch this master class. No, you get access to everything in there. And I'll tell you what, if you are watching this video and you sign up for the credit community, I will give you access to all my courses as well as a special bonus to you, because I know that you're an action taker. And at this point, I am only wanting to help action takers, people that are willing, ready to put the work in and get the results. Okay. People are always scared of things that are new, that they haven't done before, right? But all of this whole credit restoration is very simple. Even if you don't have the time, you can make time for certain things. If you need help, or you simply just are like, I don't want to do it, I want someone to help me, you can book a call. The links are all in the description of this video. But until next time, make sure that you've watched all of the parts in the 25-part series, Credit Repair Hacks 2025. I'll see you next time.